Hey everyone and welcome. As you were aware, the media are whipping up a storm over the Golliwogs. Oh, the Golliwogs! Ooh, those horrible, horrible Golliwogs. After 6 cops mobbed a pub for displaying them.
And I do believe that we have rotten politics, and I'm not using that as an exaggeration.
After just one Karen complained. Now, they wouldn't have come that mob-handed for a burglary or possibly knife crime or anything like that. Oh, no. But you display a Golliwog in your pub, they're going to send loads. It's like they've got nothing else better to do, isn't it? Well, anyway, I've seen some absolutely moronic, ignorant rants like this incoherent babble on GB News.
It's 2023 and I'm about to tell you why it's unacceptable to display gollywogs in pubs. A gollywog is a racist caricature of a black person. If we can get an image of a gollywog for our wonderful viewers, that will really help. So if you display one of these dolls in your home, in your pub, in your place of work, essentially what you're saying is, black people, you're not welcome. It comes from a mentality that thinks that black people's skin, lips, hair is so strange that it warrants taking the mick out of. Now, I was disappointed with the Home Secretary's intervention earlier on this week. Whilst I agree, it does seem like a strange use of police resources to send 5 officers to a pub to go and remove some gollywogs. What she didn't say was that it's completely unacceptable in Britain, the world's leading multiracial democracy, to display gollywog dolls. And besides, shouldn't the Home Secretary have better things to do? Stopping the boats, perhaps?
Now, everything in that was completely wrong, including the premise that a gollywog is racist and is designed to ridicule. So I thought I'd rip it to bits and finally free the ragdoll from racist actors like him. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? The first theory, and the main theory, is that it isn't even a Western concept, but comes from, are we ready for this? Egypt, Middle East. And this seems to fit with the later story of how it got into publications and a lot of British homes. Now, the main theory of its origin, as I said, are from Egypt, and its name is derived from a combination of the words Golly and pollywog, an old term for tadpole. Notice no reference to race in that at all. Now, the theory of the origin of the name Golliwog says that while British soldiers held Egypt in the second half of the 19th century, Egyptian labourers worked for them, and the workers wore the insignia WOGS on their armbands, meaning working on government service. Still no reference to race involved. British troops called them ghouls, which is an Arabic word for desert ghosts. Now, Egyptian children played with black dolls, which they sometimes gave to British soldiers or they bought the dolls from the children. Those dolls were later called Golliwogs. Are you seeing where this is coming from now? Which basically meant desert ghosts working on government service, and later was adopted to gollywogs rather than goollywogs. So it started as a ragdoll for Middle Eastern kids that we adopted and probably took home with our boys. So it's not a racist doll. It was admired and returned after being gifted or bought from Egyptians. Now, obviously, this Fraggle in GB News knows none of this. Now, the first time it hit Western knowledge was in a publication, and that was a book, or should I say a series of books that were illustrated by one Florence Kate Upton. Kate was born in 1873 in Flushing, New York, and was the daughter of English parents. Her father died when she was 14, and she moved back to England to afford art school, where she illustrated the book The Adventures of 2 Dutch Dolls and a Golliwog, published in 1894. Upton began to sketch out ideas for a children's book using penny wooden dolls as her models, the 2 Dutch dolls. However, without a central character, remember that phrase, central character, you don't give that to something that you're trying to take the mickey out of, do you? Well, you give a central character on which to hang the entire tale. The progress in the book came to a standstill. Now, these are some of the illustrations she did. Quite well done, aren't they? Now, with it coming to a standstill, her aunt, Kate Hudson, came up with an idea, as she'd found a black ragdoll in her attic that belonged to the Upton children, possibly one of those Egyptian dolls from the 19th century, left behind in the attic from an earlier visit. This toy, which was named Golliwog, provided inspiration, and the first story was completed in 1894. So that's the history, and none is to create ridicule, like he said. The first book, The Adventures of 2 Dutch Dolls and a Golliwog, the Golliwog character was the star. He was funny, clever, but very clumsy, and the Dutch dolls flirted with him. The subject is very much about learning to love people that were different. Now, these books and the series of books proved very, very popular, and the book sold very well in England along with its sequels. Similar dolls and images started carrying the name Golliwog because of that popularity, and because Florence did not patent the name. This made the doll a popular children's toy during a large part of the 20th century. Its fame was so wide that it spread to advertising and other selling items, like children's china and other toys, ladies' perfume and jewellery. James Robertson and Sons, a British jam factory, used Golliwog as a mascot from 1910 until 2001. If you remember Blackjacks also used a representation of the Golliwog on the Odysee candy made in the United Kingdom from 1920s until the 1980s. Now, I remember the Robinsons jam badges. Here's a few of them as an example. You had to save up for them with jam jars. Every single one of them was a Golliwog, and every single one of them was an inspirational character. I like an astronaut, doctor, etc. And it doesn't stop there. Golliwog has been portrayed in different forms of media, including comic strips, animated television series, and has even appeared in the works of renowned authors like Enid Blyton, where the character was featured more positively as a kind and brave figure. Enid Blyton being the Noddy books, and Golliwogs were featured numerous times in the Noddy book. Essentially, this was instrumental, in my opinion, in it reducing and getting a mostly colourblind nation, and these new anti-racists are destroying it all with ingrained bigotry without grounds. Leave the Golliwog alone. They were fighting racism long before you were born. Now, there were reports of our soldiers in the trenches in the First World War thanking back home for mail that included are we ready? Golliwog for luck. Does this sound like a character or a caricature of black people that is derogatory and insulting? Or does this sound completely the opposite? Enough of this vile seeking division, and if you must, at least get your facts straight. Now, I'll leave a link to a very good presentation on YouTube about the anti-racist credentials of what they now call a racist ragdoll Golliwog. None of the representations for Golliwog are discriminatory or hateful in any way. All show being friends with someone different from you is okay. And yet, fraggles like him on the DB News are trying to smear the Golliwog ragdoll for something it's not and has never ever been. But anyway, I'd like to know your opinion. Let me know what you think. Make sure you let everybody know that the Golliwog isn't racist. It was never designed as racist, and is in fact more than likely a representation of a fairy folk. Have a look at the presentation that I've put the link in for. It is really, really well done. And it goes into the origins a little bit more and why the books were instrumental, in my honest opinion. Let me know. Stay sane. See you on the next one.